everyone, Fact Friday, kind of late in the day. I was gonna start it up earlier and then was devastated by not having coffee. I need the coffee. So I drank it and went on Tumblr. And our questions are great this week and I'm super excited. So my first wait. Ooh, I have 6. Just 5. Doing just 5. I was quite surprised that you mentioned last week so casually that you used to live in a trailer park. I imagine you lived in the suburbs. Yeah, I mean the trailer park was in the suburbs, but it was a trailer park nonetheless. When we moved out of the city, that was the first place we lived. And I loved the trailer park. I really think it was a great place for me to grow up, and I think that it's a great place for kids. That might sound weird, like you didn't expect me to say like it's a great place, but I feel like it's a great place to raise kids. I had so many friends when I lived there. We always had something to do. There were 2 ponds and a creek that went through our trailer park, so we were always playing outside. I felt like we lived in the woods and it was rural, and like we rode our bikes and we rode our scooters, and I had so much fun. Like I was outside every night. We used to have a trampoline because we had a yard that surrounded our house, and we had a porch. So when it rained, we would like go outside on our roller skates. And honestly, I love the trailer park. I met my best friends there, and my grandma still lives there, and I visit her all the time. I love that place. Honestly, the only bad part about living in the trailer park were the stereotypes and the critiques I got from kids at school. And I didn't know it was a bad place to live until middle school, and people found out and had things to say. So I think that, like, I don't know, kill trailer park stereotypes or whatever, but yeah, I loved the trailer park. I loved it. I had my radio like right up against my window, and I would play it outside. So many good feelings. Honestly, like I said, the only negative thing was when people told you like, you live in a trailer park. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's cool, and they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, you don't live there. How do you know it's not cool? So yeah, it was awesome. I loved it, and there were parts of it that were like really open, and then there were parts that were like very wooded and spooky, and you would like walk through. I love it, but whatever, people out there. That's why I had no issue mentioning it. I've never had bad feelings about living there. I think it's a really great place to raise kids too. What's a typical day like for you? What is your sleeping schedule? A typical day, I feel like I answer this sometimes. So my sleeping schedule, I wake up with John. He doesn't work in the city, so he leaves really early in the morning, like 6. So I'll usually wake up with him and, kind of read emails, do YouTube stuff. If I'm not feeling well or any sort of issue, I'll kind of rest my eyes for a little bit. I usually make breakfast, and depending on like who's in the kitchen that early, like John's dad, sometimes he's up really early, so I don't like to have too many people in the kitchen. So I'll usually go to the coffee shop, and if I have a lot of Depop orders the night before, I'll fix up all my Depop orders and package them, and I'll walk them to the post office. That takes me about an hour total to like pack and walk there. I love my post office, so I love chatting with the dudes. They're usually watching, Drew Carey's in it, The Price is Right, and I'll watch like a couple frames of that. I love that stuff. Coffee shop, head home. My one friend like doesn't have computer or like internet or like good cell phone, so I'll call her every once in a while because it's impossible to get the scoop on her. And it's funny, but it's like my friends who have Instagram and my friends who can text me and my friends who are like active, like I can see them online and I'm like, oh, they're good and everything seems good. But with her, I'm like, I wonder if it's good. My grandmom calls me a lot. Get the scoop on my grandmom. Uh, I like to film in the daylight, so I only have a couple hours for the sun to like shine in here and for me to film. So I'll try to film like between 11 and 1, depending on what I'm filming. And if I miss that window, I kind of miss filming. And then I have a couple hours to edit and chill out before school. 30 minutes to walk to the train, take the train to school, go to school. Then John picks me up. If John's really tired, we'll get a takeout. If not, we'll come home and cook dinner. We'll watch our shows for a little bit, kind of unwind, shower maybe. And we usually get to bed between 11:30 and 12, unless something keeps us up. And that's about it. My sleep schedule is really regular. I don't like staying up very late for any reason. And John kind of keeps that in check because he is on a very certain schedule. And even Sunday, which is like our day off together, well, it's like our morning off, even he's like awake by 7. And I'm like, come on. I'm going to New York soon, so I'm making arrangements with like my tattoo artist and everything like that, and taking photos of my arm for tattoo stuff. That's my day, usually. Friday we usually try to do something cool. We usually eat out. We're kicking it with some of my family members tonight, so that should be super rad. My sleep schedule is super regular. Like, John keeps that like pretty in check. What's my opinion on tattoo reality shows? I don't really watch tattoo reality shows. I haven't for a couple years. When I was younger, and by younger I mean when I moved back in with my parents, we didn't have cable. I just had Netflix in my room, and I would watch like Miami Ink, and I would put it on in my room, but like I don't know how like wholeheartedly I was watching it. I kind of just had it because if you ever look up how many seasons of Miami Ink there are, there's like 19 or something crazy like that. So I was just like blowing through it because you can only watch Lost so many times. And Miami Ink was cool. It wasn't as dramatic as they frame these shows to be now, and there weren't like retakes and all this stuff and like sound effects. It was kind of just like a couple dudes who did what they were good at, and then like a little bit of background. And I kind of like that. I was already tattooed at that point, so I wasn't watching it for like inspiration, but I also wasn't watching it to like connect. It was kind of just like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, it is hot in Miami. That sucks. Dragons. Cool. I like to watch, it's like, and excuse me if I've said this before, I like shows that I can eat to, if that makes sense. Like, I had the hardest time watching American Horror Story because I couldn't eat. And I wanted to start watching Hoarders, couldn't eat during Hoarders. So, Miami Ink was nice, like, eat a sandwich, oh, that's cool. Lots low impact kind of TV. When NY Ink came out, it was like really dramatic and like weird. And I remember like, since it was in New York, it was like real to me, I guess. And we went to like Wooster Street. There's the Kid Robot store. To make this all, bring it all together, the Kid Robot store is right around there. And I didn't even know. I just wanted my goods. And then I walked past it and I was like, oh shit, it's that spot. I saw Megan Massacre once. I think she was in Philly for something. And I saw her and I was like, you're small, that's cool. But never met her. She used to be like a model, like an alt model, and I know we were once like photographed by the same person, but that was so long ago. I never met her though. That's cool. It's all cool. I never watched those shows though. I know now there's like 100 of them, and I think Dave Navarro's on one of them. Hey, Dave Navarro. But that's it. No, my opinion of them, it's like, I think that they novelize tattoo culture to an audience that like isn't prepared to know anything about tattoos. So yes, they treat it like a novelty, but it also brings tattoos like into their living room and makes them more, I don't know, it kind of socializes them more. And I know there's like shows where tattoo artists compete to like become the ultimate tattoo artist. And it shows people that like, yeah, tattooing is actually a job. And I know it shows, I hope it shows like people like, oh, I miss my wife and kids at home, but I had to compete. And then I hope viewers like, oh, he's a wife and kids and not just a motorcycle. That's cool. Like, I hope it brings some sort of like a civilized idea to viewers, but I also know it really novelizes tattoos. And I know when those shows became really popular, it's a lot of like, oh, I have to get a tattoo for my grandma, and I got this for her and her state flower, and because that one time she really helped me, and like that's cool. But I remember being in one of my classes, and like at school, like I don't want to be noticed. Like at other beauty schools different, but like when I went to college, like I didn't want to be noticed. I didn't want anyone to talk to me. I wore long sleeves and just whatever and like a hoodie, and I just like wanted to learn because I was paying for it myself. I really wanted to learn, and I did not want to be a commodity or the popular kid or the smart kid. I just let me learn. And I remember I had a class and I didn't speak all year, and I sat in the back corner because that's, I can see everybody. It's not because I wanted to be antisocial, despite what I just explained. The back corner, you see the teacher, you see the kids. If they say something interesting, you're looking right at them. That helps me hear. I've been to all these punk shows. I can't really hear that well. That's my spot. So there's this kid in the front who raised his hand, and he was like, if someone doesn't have a story for their tattoo, it doesn't mean anything and it's insignificant to me and I don't want to see it. And I was like, what is he talking about? So I was like, you can't just get tattoos because you like the way they look. And he was like, every tattoo has a story. And I was like, oh, these tattoo shows, they got him. They didn't show us positively. They showed us negatively. So I was like, that's not true. But I didn't have any tattoos visible. And I didn't want to be like, surprise, I'm inked this whole time. Stuff like that like kind of gets under my skin, because I think that tattoos, although can represent great things or whatever, or can immortalize certain events for you, I also believe that they have aesthetic appeal, and you can get tattoos because you like the way they look. And those shows are shows, and they show stories, and they're storytelling things. And yeah, there were episodes of Miami Ink where it was just a guy who was like, this is my favorite tattoo artist, so I regularly get tattooed by him. And I was like, yeah, cool. But then there were others where it was like, I'm getting a tattoo for all the firefighters who helped me. And I'm like, that's cool too. Like, it's cool. Like, it's all good. But guy who's just getting tattoos and guy who's getting one because of something, like, they're both equally getting tattooed. And both of their tattoos are valid. So yeah, I don't know. I remember there was an episode where, like, this cool grandma got a tattoo, and I really felt that. But anything new, like in the last like 4 or 5 years, I have not seen. I think I tried to watch LA Ink, like I was interested in watching it, and they took it off Netflix, so I didn't even get that chance. I don't know why they took it off Netflix. I know Qcknd is that hot shit now, so. Have you ever had a hard time getting a job because of your tattoos? I get this question a lot and thought about making like a whole video about it, because you know I can go on and on, but I'm gonna just like kind of say no, I haven't. So there's not like a really exciting, this could be its own video kind of story, like this one time my manager saw my shoulder in the sunlight. It's never happened to me. There have just been like, I'm fully conscious, fully self-aware. My self-awareness deserves a reward. I know exactly what I look like, and I know the perceptions that people have. I am looking for a job. When I'm on the job search, I know what jobs will hire tattooed people. Coffee shop, usually. Retail, depends. These are the jobs I kind of look for. I used to be a lifeguard. Lifeguards are usually tatted, or tatted accepted. Retail depends. Like, I'm not gonna apply to Hollister and wonder why I wasn't hired. Like, that's not gonna surprise me. But I know that Hollister has like a tattoo dress code policy, whatever, Abercrombie, these like mall stores. It's been a minute. Maybe like, you know, tattoos are a little cooler, a little more mainstream now. You might have like a little something. But I wouldn't apply to jobs where I don't see other tattooed people working. Not Hollister, but maybe like Journeys, Hot Topic, The Gap, maybe The Gap, yeah, Urban, Def, you know, but American Apparel has a no tattoo policy. I think they changed it because I remember applying there and they were like, no. But when I also applied to American Apparel, they required 3 headshots. So that kind of sounds more like a modeling gig rather than like a job. So, you know, I worked at a streetwear boutique. That tattoos are encouraged, things like that. I've never been disappointed because I kind of set that bar low. And back in the day, there used to be a whole forum on jobs and jobs that allowed piercings and tattoos. It has to still exist. I saw it on the internet. I don't know how up to date it is. I feel like these things are constantly changing. Starbucks used to have a piercing policy, and I heard that they changed it, but you can't show your tattoos. I don't know how current that is. I've never worked at Starbucks, so I don't really know. I worked at like an independent coffee shop where I feel like there was a dress code. I couldn't have piercings, but I did have tattoos. A couple things. There were times where I would hide my tattoos on purpose just because I worked in customer service, and usually my tattoos are private, and there are times where it's the summer, it's hot, oh, I gotta wear short sleeves, like, God forbid. But, you know, if I knew there was like a festival in town or like a big like convention, something like that, generally I would try to keep my tattoos covered. Like, I worked in a big open market, and I remember we had a kidney convention at the convention center, and people were weird, and we had a flower show, and the flower show is like grandma and stuff like that, and grandma's really not interested in my tattoos, and they distract her and make her feel weird. And yeah, there's 1,000 things I could say about like grandma, like it's time to open your eyes and not treat your barista a different way. But it's a lot easier for me to never know that grandma feels that way and just cover my tattoos. So there are times where, yeah, like it was better in my best interest to cover my tattoos and conceal them from the public because I was in an environment where tattoos were not expected. But that was my own personal preference. I've said before, like when I worked down on the dock with the kayak rentals, like people felt very entitled to touch and view my tattoos because of the atmosphere. It was hot, people were in their bathing suits sometimes, and the sunscreen and everything, and it was so hot out that usually I just wore like a loose tank top and shorts. And these reveal my tattoos to the people, so people felt very felt like it was encouraged to touch my tattoos and view them, which just wasn't true. So there were environments where it would be cool if my tattoos were covered, but not because of my employer's regulations. And at interviews, I like to dress professional. I love a good interview. I love interview attire. button-ups and cardigans and loafers. Like, I live to interview. And you have to decide, like, do you go to your interview with your tattoos covered, or do you show them? And my general rule for interviews, because I think it's professional to be covered and to look covered. And tattoos are not, that's how I would dress for an interview. So usually my interview attire is arms covered with legs showing. That way they can view my legs and make an assumption about me being tattooed. But it goes both ways. I've interviewed completely covered before, and if there is a tattoo policy, I can find that out later. And if it's not clearly stated in their dress code and they fire you later, that could really become a huge conflict of interest. Generally, companies have to put it in their dress code policy, and if you're into the law or whatever, you can figure out if that's illegal or whatever. I remember reading that forum so long ago. There was advocacy for tattooed people in the workplace. I've never gotten involved in that, just because I've always chosen a career path where it doesn't matter. I mean, before I wanted to be a writer, and then I wanted to do the internet, and now I'm a stylist, and it's like, these are kind of worlds where it doesn't matter what I look like, and I'm never really seen as super professional anyway. So, I mean, I've always known that I wanted to be tattooed, and I could feel a type of way or whatever, and I encourage advocacy if you wish you could have tattoos in your field. I've never had a issue with getting employment because of my tattoos, but my skill set is for a working class person anyway, and we generally have tattoos. I don't know, if I've worked with food most of my life, my whole life, I would say. So, I don't know, kitchen people, we have tattoos sometimes. I don't know. But let me know if tattoos have ever been an issue for you in your workplace. I'd love to know. I'm just not a great person to ask, because I worked at McDonald's and you just have to show up. It doesn't even matter what you look like there. So I don't have a lot of great experience. But my best advice is do a little research before you apply somewhere, so you don't get your heart broken, or you don't waste your awesome interviewing skills on somebody. But this is 5 Fact Friday. Thank you so much for everybody who has cool things to say about 5 Fact Friday. I have cool things to say about you. And until next time, there is a bonus episode of Public Record that is either going to come out tonight or tomorrow morning. Let me know how bad you want to see it. Snap me, and maybe I'll put it out early for you. But yeah, thank you so much. #Qcknd if you want me to see something on Instagram. Hit me up on Snapchat. I love you guys. And until next time, bye.